They watched Earth burn, and they believed humanity was finished. 3,000 years ago, the sky above Earth was filled with ships, not human ships, but thousands of alien war vessels forming a dark ring around the planet. Earth had known peace for many decades. Humanity had spread across nearby systems, built trade alliances, and believed they had become part of a greater galactic community. They were wrong. Without warning, the coalition fleets arrived, a united force of powerful alien empires who feared human growth. They called humanity unpredictable, dangerous, expanding too fast. Above Earth, the first wave of enemy ships opened fire. Human orbital stations exploded in bright flashes, debris falling toward the atmosphere like burning rain. On the surface, cities looked up in confusion, then fear. Sirens began to sound across continents. Human fleets launched from Mars, from Luna, from hidden defense platforms. Near Jupiter, massive battleships rose to meet the invaders' engines, blazing weapons charging. Admiral Kale Varen stood on the bridge of the Terran flagship Valiant, watching the enemy armada spread across space. "They outnumber us 3-1, an officer reported quietly. Kale nodded. "Then we hold the line." The first clash shook the solar system. Human rail cannons fired in precise bursts. Alien plasma beams answered with overwhelming force. Ships collided, shields shattered, entire squadrons vanished in seconds. Yet humanity did not retreat. Human destroyers moved into defensive patterns. Carriers launched waves of fighters. Every ship fought knowing what was at stake. Earth itself. Hours passed, and the sky turned red with constant explosions. But the coalition had planned this attack for years. Hidden ships emerged from jump points behind Mars, cutting off reinforcements. Powerful dreadnoughts targeted the Valiant directly. Admiral Kale felt the ship tremble as shields failed. Secondary systems offline, an officer shouted. Outside, human ships were falling one by one. The coalition fleets slowly pushed forward, breaking the defensive ring around Earth. On the surface, millions watched the battle through emergency broadcasts, hope fading with every destroyed human vessel. Inside, the Valiant, Kale made his final decision. "Prepare evacuation protocol," he ordered. Deep beneath Earth, secret ships began launching small, fast vessels carrying scientists, engineers, children, the future of humanity. Most citizens could not be saved. The fleet above Earth fought harder, buying every second they could. The Valiant took direct fire from 3 enemy dreadnoughts, its hull cracking, engines failing. Admiral Kale opened a wide channel to all human ships. "Hold them as long as you can. Protect the evacuation. No surrender." The final human defense line broke hours later. Coalition warships turned their weapons toward Earth itself. The first planetary bombardment struck the oceans, turning water into steam. Continents burned, cities vanished under waves of fire. From a distant hidden transport ship, a young human officer watched Earth through a small viewport. The blue world was covered in flames. Beside him, an older commander placed a hand on his shoulder. "Remember this," he said softly. "We survive, we rebuild, and one day we return." Behind them, Earth shattered under endless bombardment. The coalition fleets broadcast a single message across the galaxy. Humanity is extinct. And for 3,000 years, the galaxy believed it. But in the deep darkness beyond mapped stars, small human ships traveled silently, carrying the last survivors, carrying memory, carrying anger, and carrying a promise that would not die. The small human evacuation ships did not travel toward friendly space. There was no friendly space left. Instead, they moved away from everything. Away from known trade routes, away from mapped stars, away from the reach of the coalition. Their engines were weak compared to the warships that had died above Earth, but they were fast and silent. Inside, one transport vessel, named Horizon Commander Elias Wren, studied the star charts projected before him. Most of the systems ahead were marked unstable, dead, or unexplored. "Perfect. We disappear here," he said quietly. The surviving ships entered a region of space filled with dark nebula clouds and dying stars. Long-range scanners could barely see through the radiation storms. It was a graveyard of forgotten systems. Supplies were limited food ration power, carefully controlled. Children cried at night, asking about Earth. No one had answers that could ease the pain. Days became months, months became years. The fleet slowly grew smaller as some ships failed and could not be repaired. But those that survived pushed forward. One day, scanners detected a faint star system hidden deep inside a thick nebula, a red dwarf star with several rocky planets and rich asteroid belts. It was isolated and visible to normal long-range scans. Elias made his decision. This is where humanity sleeps. The ships entered orbit around a cold, lifeless world. There are no oceans, no forests, no air. But there was metal. There was water locked beneath ice. And most important, there was silence. The first human colony was not built on the surface. It was carved inside the planet. Massive drills cut deep tunnels, reactors were assembled from salvaged ship cores, farms were grown under artificial light. The survivors worked without rest. They did not speak of revenge. Not yet. They spoke of survival. Years passed, and children who had never seen Earth grew into engineers and pilots. They were taught history every night. They were shown recordings of the burning planet. They learned one lesson: never forget. Commander Elias grew older, his hair turning white, but his voice remained strong. One evening, he gathered the leaders of the colony. "We cannot only survive," he said. "We must become something greater than before." Humanity had lost because it trusted too easily, because it spread too fast without power to defend itself. That mistake would not happen again. Hidden factories were built inside asteroid belts, automated mining fleets harvested resources silently. Scientists studied captured fragments of alien technology taken from destroyed ships near Earth. Slowly, human technology advanced beyond what it once was. New energy cores were developed, stronger than fusion. New armor materials designed to absorb plasma fire. Artificial intelligence systems created to manage entire shipyards. The colony expanded from one world to 3, then 5, all hidden within nebula. No signals were sent outside. No trade routes formed. The galaxy believed humanity was dust. Centuries passed. The original survivors died, but their stories remained carved into the walls of the underground cities. One night, a young engineer named Lyra stood in a vast construction chamber. Before her hung the skeleton of a warship far larger than anything built before. It was not shaped like old human cruisers. It was darker, sharper, built for one purpose. Lyra touched the cold metal. "We are not hiding anymore," she whispered. Far above the hidden system, dozens of new ships waited in silence. Not explorers, not traders, warships. And beyond the nebula, unknown to the humans, coalition empires continued ruling the galaxy, believing their greatest threat had ended. They did not know that in the darkness, humanity was not only alive, it was preparing. Centuries turned into millennia. The hidden human systems no longer looked like desperate colonies. They looked like an empire forged in silence. Deep inside the nebula, entire planets were reshaped, not for beauty, but for industry. Oceans were melted into hydrogen, fuel mountains were carved into shipyard, cities were built beneath armored domes. No one spoke of Earth with tears anymore. They spoke of it with purpose. Every child born in the Ashborn systems learned the same first lesson. Earth was home. Earth was taken. Earth will be remembered. Advanced artificial minds managed production lines that stretched across moons. Automated drones built ships piece by piece without rest. The first generation had struggled to survive. The 10th generation was building weapons that could tear apart stars. In orbit around the red dwarf star, massive structures floated like dark crowns. These were the core shipyards, each large enough to construct fleets at once. Inside one of them, Admiral Soren Vale walked across a long steel platform. Below him, a vessel unlike any before was nearing completion. Its hull was black, layered with adaptive armor, its engines silent but powerful, its weapon arrays hidden beneath smooth surfaces. It was called the Revenant, not the largest ship in the fleet, but the first of a new class. Soren had grown up hearing stories of Earth burning. He had never seen it with his own eyes, but the memory lived inside him like a second heartbeat. A junior officer approached. "Deep-range probe has returned, sir." Soren nodded. "Project the data." A holographic image formed in the air, showing known galactic territory. Coalition empires still ruled the central systems, their banners unchanged, their fleets active. 3,000 years had passed, and they had never once searched beyond the nebula. They had believed humanity was gone. Soren felt a quiet satisfaction. "Good," he said. Another officer spoke carefully. "Our expansion inside the nebula is complete. Resources, stable fleet count exceeding projections." "How many ships?" "Over 8,000 combat vessels, not including support units." Soren remained silent for a moment. 8,000 ships built in darkness. 8,000 reminders of a burning world. In another sector, young cadets trained inside combat simulators. They fought recorded battles from Earth, analyzing every mistake, every weakness. Humanity would not repeat its past. Diplomacy would never replace strength again. Far beyond the shipyards, an enormous structure powered up slowly. It was not a ship. It was a gateway, a new form of faster-than-light engine capable of moving entire armadas at once. Scientists had spent centuries perfecting it. Now it was ready. In the central command chamber, leaders from every hidden human world gathered. They did not argue. The decision had been made long ago. Soren stepped forward. "For 3,000 years we survived. For 3,000 years we prepared. The galaxy believes we are history. Today history changes." Outside the chamber, alarms shifted from yellow to green. The first wave of the Ashborn Armada moved toward the gateway. Rows of massive warships aligned in perfect formation, carriers, destroyers, heavy cruisers, stealth divisions. Engines glowed faintly with controlled power. No battle cries, no celebration, only focus. Back in the core systems of the Galaxy Coalition, leaders continued their rule, unaware that deep sensors on the edge of mapped space had just detected a strange energy distortion. At first, they dismissed it as natural radiation. Then it grew and grew. Inside the nebula, Soren gave the final command. "Open the path." The gateway ignited. Space twisted violently, forming a corridor through the void. One by one, the first 1,000 human warships entered the light and vanished. After 3,000 years of silence, humanity was moving, not to explore, not to negotiate, but to return. Far beyond the hidden nebula, the first wave of the Ashborn Armada traveled through the artificial corridor of folded space. Inside the gateway tunnel, there were no stars, no light, only a silent stream of energy guiding thousands of human warships toward their destination. Admiral Soren Vale stood on the bridge of the Revenant, watching the tactical projection. The target was not Earth. Earth no longer existed. The target was the Coalition capital system, the same alliance that had ordered the destruction of humanity. After 3,000 years, their power had grown comfortable, their borders stable, their fleets scattered across trade routes and minor wars. They had not prepared for ghosts. Inside the Coalition capital system, planets rotated peacefully around a bright yellow star. Massive orbital cities shimmered with wealth and power. Leaders of the Alliance gathered inside a towering spire, discussing trade and territory. Then long-range sensors began to tremble. At first it appeared as background distortion. Then a massive spike of energy formed at the edge of the system. Coalition analysts stared at their screens. Unknown jump signature. Size unknown. Scale increasing. Before they could respond, space tore open. Not once, but hundreds of times. Dark warships poured into the system in perfect, silent formation. The Ashborn Armada had arrived. Their hulls absorbed the light of the star, making them appear like moving shadows. The Coalition defense grid activated automatically, satellites, charging weapons, planetary shields rising. But the human fleet did not rush forward. They held position, forming a wide ring around the outer system. Inside the Revenant, Soren gave calm orders. Disable outer defense network. Do not target civilian zones. Precision only. Waves of human strike craft launched, moving faster than coalition sensors could track. Within minutes, communication relays were cut, defense satellites went dark without explosions, without warning. Coalition command centers filled with panic. Who are they? Where did they come from? An elderly counselor whispered a word that had not been spoken in centuries. Humans. The coalition fleet scrambled from dockyards, heavy cruisers, and defense ships forming battle lines near the capital world. Their commanders believed the unknown fleet was a rogue empire or pirate force. Then they intercepted a transmission. "This is Admiral Soren Vale of the Ashborn Armada. 3,000 years ago, you burned our world. Today, humanity returns." Silence followed across the system. Coalition leaders felt cold fear. They had believed Earth was a forgotten event buried in ancient archives. But the past had just arrived at their doorstep. Coalition fleets opened fire first. Bright plasma beams streaked toward the outer human ships. The Ashborn Armada responded with terrifying control. Not one ship broke formation. Layered shields absorbed the first strikes. Then human rail cannons fired in synchronized volleys. Coalition cruisers shattered under focused impact. Ships that had ruled the galaxy for centuries fell within minutes. On the capital world, citizens watched the sky fill with explosions, their leaders sending desperate orders. Launch full fleet. Activate planetary cannons. Inside, the Revenant Soren studied the battlefield. The coalition still had numbers, but they lacked unity. Centuries of peace had weakened their coordination. Human ships moved like a single mind, dividing enemy formations, isolating targets, destroying command vessels first. Within an hour, the outer defense ring collapsed. Coalition ships retreated toward the capital planet, forming a final shield. Soren knew this moment would define everything. Vengeance could become destruction, or it could become warning. "Prepare Phase 2, he ordered. Above the coalition capital, the Ashborn Armada advanced slowly, blocking the light of the star. The same way coalition ships had once blocked Earth. History was repeating, but this time, humanity was not the one burning. Above the coalition capital world, the Ashborn Armada held position like a wall of darkness. No random firing, no wild destruction, only steady pressure. The coalition fleet formed a desperate shield around their home planet. Every remaining cruiser, every defense ship, every planetary cannon aimed toward the human formation. Inside, the Revenant Admiral Soren Vale watched the tactical projection carefully. "Their final fleet is clustering around the capital," he said. "They are afraid." A younger officer spoke quietly. "Should we finish them now?" Soren did not answer immediately. For 3,000 years, humanity had imagined this moment. The chance to erase those who erased Earth. But anger alone did not build an empire. Discipline did. "Open channel to coalition leadership," he ordered. On the surface of the capital planet, the coalition High Council gathered inside their emergency chamber. The same species who once voted to destroy Earth now stood pale and silent. The holographic image of Soren appeared before them. "You destroyed our world," he said calmly. "You hunted our survivors. You declared humanity extinct." One counselor tried to speak. "It was necessary for stability." Soren interrupted. "You feared our growth. You feared losing control." Behind him, the image shifted, showing recordings from 3,000 years ago. Earth burning, oceans boiling, human fleets falling. The council could not look away. "We have come for vengeance," Soren continued. "But vengeance does not mean extinction." The council members looked confused. Above the planet, human ships began to reposition, slowly tightening their ring. Coalition defense cannons fired again in panic, but human shields absorbed the attacks with little effect. "Strike teams target fleet command ships," Soren ordered quietly. Human destroyers accelerated through gaps in coalition lines, focusing on large flagships. One by one, coalition command vessels were disabled, engines destroyed, weapon systems neutralized. Without leadership, the remaining coalition ships drifted uncertain. Inside the emergency chamber, alarms echoed. "Our fleet is collapsing," one advisor shouted. Soren continued speaking through the channel. You will surrender your military power. You will dismantle your war fleets. You will never unite to destroy another species again. A counselor shouted angrily. You cannot control the galaxy. Soren replied, we do not seek to control it. We seek to ensure this never happens again. At that moment, one coalition admiral attempted a final desperate charge, launching his remaining ships directly at the human formation. Human response was immediate. Coordinated rail cannon fire cut through the attacking ships within seconds. The last organized resistance ended in flashes of white light. Silence spread across space. The coalition capital now lay completely surrounded. Soren gave the final command. Disable planetary weapon systems. Target only military installations. Human precision strikes fell like surgical blades, orbital cannons, went dark military shipyards, shattered communication towers collapsed. Cities were untouched. Civilian districts remained safe. On the surface, coalition citizens realized something unexpected. The humans were not burning their world. They were removing their power. Inside the council chamber, fear shifted into understanding. Humanity did not come to erase them. Humanity came to break their dominance. Soren delivered his final message. 3,000 years ago, you chose destruction. Today, we choose restraint. But remember this moment. If the galaxy threatens humanity again, we will not hold back. Above the capital, the Ashborn Armada maintained formation while coalition leaders transmitted surrender codes across every remaining fleet. Weapons powered down. Shields lowered. For the first time in centuries, the coalition empire stood defenseless. And in the silence that followed, every species across the galaxy understood. The extinct race had returned, stronger than ever, and they were not finished yet. The coalition capital world remained surrounded by the Ashborn Armada, but no further shots were fired. Human ships held their positions like silent judges in orbit. On the surface, citizens waited in fear, expecting fire from the sky. But none came. Inside, the Revenant Admiral Soren Vale stood before the central display, watching surrender codes spread across coalition systems. One by one, their fleets powered down, their war factories went silent, their command networks transferred control. 3,000 years ago, humanity had begged for survival. Today, the galaxy begged for mercy. A senior officer approached. All major coalition shipyards disabled. Remaining fleets disarmed. No organized resistance detected. Soren nodded. Maintain orbit. Open wide transmission. Across every known system in the galaxy, every channel, every frequency was interrupted by a single signal. The image of the Revenant appeared dark and steady. Soren spoke calmly. 3,000 years ago, Earth was destroyed. Humanity was declared extinct. You believed power meant safety. You believed fear meant control. But you forgot something. When you try to erase a species, you create something stronger. Images followed showing Earth burning, then shifting to massive hidden human shipyards, thousands of warships rising from darkness. We did not vanish, Soren continued. We prepared. The message was not filled with anger. It was filled with certainty. Humanity does not seek to rule the galaxy. We do not seek endless war. But we will never again allow our destruction. The transmission ended. Silence followed across countless worlds. Inside the coalition council chamber, leaders lowered their heads. Their empire was broken not by chaos, but by discipline. Human strike teams began dismantling remaining coalition superweapons, ensuring they could never be rebuilt. Civilian systems were restored, power grids repaired, communication reopened. Humanity was reshaping balance without occupation. Weeks later, the Ashborn Armada prepared to depart. Their mission complete. On the capital world, a delegation requested final contact. Soren allowed it. A young coalition representative appeared on screen. Why did you spare us? She asked. You had the power to end everything. Soren answered simply, because we remember what it feels like to lose a world. We will not become what destroyed us. The channel closed. In orbit, human ships aligned for departure. Their engines glowed softly. No celebrations. No victory parades. only quiet understanding. As the first wave of ships entered faster than light corridors, distant stars reflected against their dark hulls. The Ashborn Armada vanished one formation at a time, leaving behind a changed galaxy. In the hidden nebula, new shipyards continued operating not for revenge now, but for protection. Earth was still gone, but humanity was no longer a victim. 3,000 years of silence had forged something unbreakable. Far beyond the Coalition system's deep space sensors continued watching. Humanity would never again be surprised, never again be erased. And as the final Terran warship disappeared into folded space, a single message echoed across secured human networks. The ashes have risen. And this time, the galaxy will remember their name.